Pro-Nyesom Wike politicians converge on Port Harcourt to confirm their alliance with the Minister of the FCT amid a triangular political face-off between the minister, his successor, and one of his predecessors. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetekun once against attack on police personnel across the country maintains federal attempts will be appropriately resisted. Hello and welcome to Politics Today, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Before I get to what we're doing today on the program, just to let you know, I'm sure you were watching that luncheon, the New Year luncheon by the FCT minister taking place in Port Harcourt. There will be a delayed broadcast after the show. So just so for people who want to see just the end of the comments of the FCT minister. But I'm going to go to that in a moment. But let me begin with what the Inspector General of Police has said today, issuing a stern warning against assault on officers and men, declaring that any further attack will be met with a decisive and appropriate response. Speaking today during his official visit to Enugu State Police Command, Mr. Egbetekun emphasized that such actions are not only criminal, but also an affront to the entire institution, as it vows zero tolerance for such incidents in this year 2025. The police boss made it clear that assaults on police officers are not only criminal, but also an attack on the entire institution. He said the police will collectively respond to any killing or assault on their personnel, while also ensuring that justice is served. Okay, let's get to that very interesting, something interesting and perhaps concerning happened in Port Harcourt. You just saw a bit of it just before the show. The FCT minister is having a luncheon, his annual luncheon into the new year with his political associates across party lines. And there were comments and remarks and eulogies. We've seen the governor of Edo State, Senator Adams Oshomole also there. I mean, Governor Mondo Kwebolo and then Senator Adams Oshomole, as well as other political leaders, Nyesom Wike and his friends and political associates. But what got a lot of people concerned and maybe talking an interesting perspective is when there were a show of the former governor of the state, Peter Odili, eulogizing Nyesom Wike for all the things he did when he was governor. That was just like a flashback to the time when Governor Nyesom Wike was the governor of Rivers State. Perhaps this is in response to some of the back and forth that has happened in the last few days of last year, 2024, when certain remarks were made, perhaps targeted at Nyesom Wike by Mr. Peter Odili, or Dr. Peter Odili, and there has been that back and forth. So that's what we call it, a triangular political fireworks. There's Peter Odili on one hand, and then former Governor Nyesom Wike and Governor Similai Fubara. But one comment amongst many that appeared fair and brutally honest came from Senator Magnus Abe. Let's take a listen to what he said.
I want to use this opportunity to give a word of advice to the governor of our state. Advice I will give to him is that he should know that we are all politicians, and politicians take decisions in pursuit of their political interest. Nobody is with Governor Fubara because they love Rivers State or because they love Governor Fubara. They are with Governor Fubara because they see him as a tool to achieve their own political objective, which is to bring down the FCT minister. Why do I say that? In the last elections, everybody in Rivers State did anti-party. Your Excellency, with all due respect, I did anti-party. I did not allow the SDP candidate to come here to campaign. And when he came to my house, I told him that I was with Tinubu. Oga, you too, you did anti-party. You were very clear that you were with Tinubu. You did not support the PDP presidential candidate. The present governor also did anti-party. He was with you. He did not support the presidential candidate of the PDP. The PDP leaders that are with Fubara today did anti-party. They did not support the PDP governorship candidate, who was Governor Fubara at that time. They supported the APC candidate. The APC leaders also did anti-party. They did not support the APC presidential candidate. They supported the PDP presidential candidate. So all of us did anti-party, And it was not because we loved River State or we loved Governor Fubara or we loved anybody. It was because we're trying to advance our political interest. Today, they have switched.
The acting national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Umar Damagum, has declared that no amount of threats or intimidation will prevent the party from expressing its stance on national issues. Mr. Damagum made the remark while speaking on recent statements made by Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State on the dangers of tax reform bills. He emphasizes that Governor Mohammed's position aligns with the party's official view on the matter. The Youth Progressive Party, YPP, is asking President Bola Tinubu to take decisive action and address the hardship currently facing the country. The national chairman of the party, Bishop Amakri, expressed this through an open letter to the president. While commending the president for some of the actions taken to address the need of the nation, the party also calls on the president to do more by reviewing his policies, especially on fuel subsidy and floating currency. Mr. Amakri urges the president to engage in consultations with key stakeholders to resolve areas of disagreement on the proposed tax reform bill before the National Assembly. Governor Nasir Idris of Kebbi State says there are no established bandit camps within the state. The governor explains that most of the bandits operating in the state infiltrate from neighboring states, as the state shares borders with 3 states and 2 countries. Governor Idris made the disclosure while addressing journalists after a closed-door security meeting held at the Government House in Benin Kebbi, the state capital.
We don't have a camp of bandits in Kebbi State. But because we share border with some states like Niger State, Zamfara State and Sokoto State, that is why we have infiltration of bandits in about 2-3 local governments we have in Kebbi State.
The chairman of Iriwon Local Government Council, Newman Ojabe, has condemned the recent attacks on local government councils across the state by unknown persons. The attack which escalated on Tuesday in the area where several persons were injured from gunshot wounds. The chairman of the Association of Local Government Council of Nigeria, Algon, Edo State Chapter, insists that the impeachment of some council chairmen, including himself, remains invalid, as the process is not in accordance with the law. And in Adamawa State, the group under the aegis of the Bwatiye tribe has cautioned religious leaders against making inflammatory statements capable of disrupting the existing peace enjoyed in the state. Speaking with journalists in Yola, the Adamawa State capital, the president of the association, James Ilya, urges security agencies to take necessary measures to restrain anyone from causing possible breach of peace.
In the light of the foregoing observation and stand of the Penda Party Development Association worldwide as expressed above, we call on the federal government of Nigeria through its security and law enforcement agency in Nigeria and the government of Adamawa and Bauchi State to as a matter of urgency.
All right, welcome back. The year had barely started. Fireworks have already started in Rivers politics. There's no other day in 2024 where you may not talk about the politics in Rivers State. And this is just 3rd of January. We're already seeing all of the fireworks. So maybe we'll start from there, as a matter of fact. I'm being joined in the program by the APC governorship candidate in the last governorship election in Rivers State, Mr. Tony Cole. He joins me right here in our Lagos City. Mr. Cole, thank you so much for coming through, as always.
Thank you. How are you?
How does it feel whenever you turn on the TV, there's Rivers in the news every other day?
One thing, if you're in the news all the time, then it's good news. Except that the kind of news that we're known for in Rivers State, that is not good news. I wish Rivers State was being talked about regarding progressive development, stars being born every day, inventions and innovations, things that are progressing Nigeria and putting it forward. But we just seem to be talking all the time about a political crisis that seems to be unending.
So, Mr. Magnus Obe says that there was enough anti-party to go around. Were you also involved in the anti-party?
No, I wasn't. See, it's sad. I heard what he was saying, and he was being very frank, and he was being very true and very upright. And there was a lot of anti-party. Everybody saw that. The sadness for me on this whole anti-party thing is that it has eroded the very foundation of what political parties are meant to be. So today what you see is that political parties do not exist for who they are Anybody can be anywhere. You say you're in PDP, you're running for APC, you're in APC, you're running for PDP, you're in APP. You know, that's totally wrong. And I suspect that what Rivers State is doing today is that it's showing the entire nation that this kind of thing cannot continue. At some point, political parties have to stand for something. Right now, they don't stand for anything.
Do we even have political separation in Rivers State?
We don't.
Because the governor is of the PDP. I'm not sure where the House of Assembly members are, between the PDP or PDAPC or APC or PD, we're not sure. Because there's a Beke faction, there is the Tony Okocha faction. Then on Nyesom Wike is very clear on his position. He's working with the APC as the government of the day, but he's a member of the PDP. The members of the House of the local government chairman are members of the APP. So it's just like a conundrum, literally.
It is. And I keep saying that truly, the way we look at political parties in Rivers State is that there is no political party anymore. Everybody is just pushing very simple political interests, and they will stand wherever that interest is going to pay them, and it doesn't matter. So you can truly be a card-carrying member of PDP, and you are moving in Rivers State fully with APC, and it's okay. Nobody will say anything. Nobody knows which party you're in. Today, an APC member is a PDP member, a PDP member is an APP member. It does not make sense. It really does not. It's too much of political interest, personal interest, and it's eroding the political fabric of the nation.
So let's talk about there's no way you cannot dismiss the political stature of Nyesom Wike. So I would like your comment on this new development between him and former Governor Peter Odili. I understand Governor Peter Odili had made a remark, I think when was it the bed? I don't know the occasion, where he talked about, look, the governor had to stop people from making the state their private estate. In response, we saw a 20-minute documentary showing the comment of the former Governor Peter Odili eulogizing former Governor Nyesom Wike, and they are saying the former governor is inconsistent and all of it. So what do you make of this back and forth between him and the elder statesman?
I think I'm looking at almost like two sides of the same coin. If they bring out and say that this is what His Excellency Peter Odili said, eulogizing Wike, they can bring out many things about what Wike said, eulogizing people in the past that he has turned totally against. Jonathan Goodluck, Patience Goodluck, and so many. And so we seem to see this as just political games that are being played today. And I don't think it's helpful moving forward. People want to be known for something. What do you really stand for? And when you say you are standing this way, that's what you stand for. What I see today is almost as if people play towards what will position them today, what will give them the advantage today. His Excellency Peter Odili and Nyesom Wike, His Excellency, were very, very close. There was nowhere that when Wike was governor, that His Excellency Peter Odili was not there. Then what happened? What changed?
I think I understand the house was built for him, I guess. That's so. If a medical facility was also built in his honor.
Some of it was there. People saw it as rumors and all of that. But today, what you are saying is that because of all of this fight, you have to take it as fact that this is what was done. Because the person who is saying he did it, the person who is claiming that that happened is the same one who said, I did this for him. So we'll have to take his word for him that this is what has happened. But why is all of this coming out now?
That's my question.
Why were we friends yesterday and today we're killing each other in public?
Is this how you politicians are?
I don't know. I don't like it.
Because
I don't like it.
It appears right now, when it comes to politics, we should not take anything any politician says seriously. Don't you think so?
You remember I said that all of this is eroding the very fabric of politics. I remember growing up when my father was a politician, and they were the ones who sat down to write the laws of politics and parties. And you had parties that were a bit to the left, a bit to the right, and you knew where they stood. So if you are going to join a political party, you join a political party based on the ideology of that party. Today, there is no ideology. APC and PDP look exactly the same.
The conundrum is, it even borders on constitutionality and the law. So what do you make of the second presentation of the budget to the three-man House of Assembly led by Okojumbo? Because right now, in that event, consistently people were saying, the authentic speaker, Wike came and said, what is authentic? There's only one speaker. Also, The governor the other day when he was signing the budget said that the other ones, they are gone. There's no going back. They can't take them. He just made some statement that maybe he's left for the courts to make a decision. And that's been the back and forth. What do you make of that 1.1 trillion naira budget size looked over by just maybe 3 persons? What is going on? This is the same thing that happened the last time, about 4 persons.
What is going on is that we are seeing things that have happened over and over and over again in Nigeria, and nobody did anything about it. And the fact that it could be done before, this is not the first time that we are seeing this kind of presentation. It's not the first time we're having a house that has very few people running the entire state. It's not the first time. And so when nothing has been done about it in the past, it will continue happening. And I believe it's not going to be the last time that this would happen until a judiciary decides that, you know what, we are going to stay firm to the things that we say. And one judge is not going to make a judgment on this side, and another judge is going to make another judgment on the same matter that are totally contrary, and people can choose which way they want to go. And I suspect that's what you're seeing today. You have divergent judgments, and people are choosing whichever one they want to operate in, and they will operate that way and wait for another judgment down the line. These things have to stop, and everybody has a responsibility. I believe that the judiciary has a responsibility, and part of the problems that we are seeing is all of these judgments that just, they don't make sense. One goes this way, another one goes that way. Within the Supreme Court itself, you have judgment on the same matter and it's going in 2 different directions. It can't continue.
In your estimation, do you see this battle going off any time, or is this going to last till the election day of 2027?
It's going to last.
You don't see Wike giving up, or the governor giving up?
The governor cannot afford to give up. Wike is not going to give up. So both of them are going to fight this all the way to the... Nothing is going to stop it.
So you see a situation where we may likely just have Anoko Jumbo recognized house by the governor till the end of his first, if he wants to run again.
I believe that these matters are still in court. Okay, so you're still going to see what the court is going to say and what the court is going to do. And because nobody, I don't think there's any politician worth his salt today that is going to be able to tell you categorically that this is what the outcome of the court will be. Finally, in terms of what this is going to be.
The position of the APC in your state, or in Rivers State, you were the governorship candidate. Is it not complicating the issues? Let me contextualize. I know you've been talking on TV, making your own, statesman intervention as much as possible. But your presence in the state, how much of that has been? Because now we have Emeka Beke and Tony Okocha, always at loggerhead, going in and out of court. Sometimes it's difficult to address who is who when we're even interviewing them, because everybody's laying claims to the position and all of that. So, and then Tony Okocha, who is perhaps louder than Emeka Beke in the state, is has a strong relationship with Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, who is a member of the PDP. Is it that the APC in Rivers State cannot pick up itself and speak with one voice?
No, that would be extremely difficult. Because what you have today within the state clearly are 2 APC factions. There's the one that is a Nyesom Wike-led APC.
That's an interesting way to describe it. Nyesom Wike-led APC as a member of the PDP.
Absolutely. So yeah, and there's nothing you can do about that, because the powers that be have determined that he should direct the affairs there. So you have him directing APC, him directing PDP, and...
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
It's quite a conundrum at the end of the day. So, but let's move on to some other issues apart from Rivers politics. And I want to talk about, because this also borders around Rivers State, the issue of the refineries. We've had, maybe my first question will go around the comments made recently. We had an exclusive with former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who had talked about how Dangote had approached him with his friends, put out $750 million to buy the refineries, but his successor said, return the money because NNPC said they will run the refinery. But he's saying that despite what is going on, he doesn't believe if I understand him very well, he doesn't believe the NNPC can run the refinery. What do you make of that?
Okay. Regardless of NNPC or otherwise, I 100% believe that those refineries ought to have been privatized, should be privatized, and tomorrow will be privatized. I think that's probably the only way that we're going to then see the progress of the refining sector moving forward one way or another. Doesn't matter whether it's NNP, and I have nothing. I mean, I've worked with NNPC people for many years, and I have a lot of respect for them. But when it comes to certain types of businesses, I think we need to move away from there. If after all of these years, and we're talking over 20 years now, if after all of these years we're still here, come on, I think we should give it another try. We should give it a different spin. And right now, those refineries need to be privatized.
So as it's working now, we should begin to think of selling the refineries to private entities.
We spent trillions of dollars to bring it. Enough to have built 2 or 3 brand new refineries. That's what you spent on rehabilitation. And that's just so that we can prove the point that, you know what, we have refineries and we should not be carrying the shame of 4 refineries that are not working.
So does what you're saying seems to align with what former Minister of Minister of State for Petroleum said, Timi Priscilla. Is it more like the federal government is trying to revamp it, get it to work to a certain point and then they sell it off?
It's possible. There's a cost benefit analysis that you have to think about. 20 odd years ago, when Obasanjo tried to sell the refinery the first time, we were part of that bid, and we went internationally. We got people to take a look at it, do a valuation of that entire refinery. When we did that valuation, believe me, the valuation then said that it was negative equity, negative valuation, and that the refinery...
This was when?
This was in 2003, 2002, 2003. And they said to us at that time that the amount it was going to take to bring the refineries up to speed and then improve it was far than the value of what you are going to pay. So pay $1. Now, Obasanjo rightly said Nigerians are going to kill anybody who says that they sold their national asset at $1. So he refused. And fair enough, we could understand it's difficult to make that kind of sale in this kind of environment. And so he went around, looked for who would buy. He asked Shell to come and buy, they refused. He asked many companies to buy, they refused. Eventually, Dangote came and said that they were willing to pay. When you look at it in retrospect, many years later, you still spent all the money plus more that they said you will spend to bring it up to speed, and you're still going to have to sell it.
So in your view, with what has been done with this refinery, whether it's managed by the NNPCL or a private investor comes in, has it come to stay? Or we should begin to take our obsession away from this national asset and think of maybe building a new one? What exactly, what picture should we look? Because I want to be realistic with Nigerians. They had said that perhaps we're too attached to the fact that, oh, our Port Harcourt refinery, our Warri refinery, if it's not working, now it has at least started some operations. Things have started coming out of there in terms of AGO and all of that, blending naphtha into PMS and all of that going on. So what's your take as far as the longevity of this refinery is concerned?
If we're going to be sustainable on this refinery, privatize it. If you want sustainability, a government can come today whose interest is in making it work, and will put everything, all the money and all of that. The next government can come and turn their eye away from it and everything will go down. You cannot continue that way. Government has no business running this refinery.
The reason I'm staying with you on this conversation on the refinery, first, before you fight, we see you as a politician, you're a businessman, and that is the space you have played in for a very long time. So I'm wondering to what extent we can really make some of these assets really work. Let's talk about the feedstock. We heard reports that the NNPCL, I'm not sure, trying to say that they may not be able to supply Dangote refinery with the feedstock. Perhaps this may clearly contravene Section 109 of the PIA that talks about domestic crude supply to all of our refineries, the small ones and the big ones and all of them. What do you make of that move right now, or that posturing? I know we had gotten loans backed with crude and we have sold our future forward and all of that. Just help us unpack that situation.
Okay. So, like you said, let's remove all the loans that you've taken, that you have to pay, all of that commitment. The NNPCA, as a seller, producer, and all of that of Nigerian crude, will have the right, first of all, to supply itself. And so the first place that it's going to put its priority, once the refinery comes up, is to supply itself. You can't take that away from them. That's what they're going to do. Which means that the production that is left will now be split between Dangote and anybody else, just as you've said, under the PIA. The question here is that, do you have enough production to meet all of these demands? And the answer is a clear no. You don't. So what's going to happen? At the end of the day, the refineries get up to full speed. They will take that production. Where does that leave Dangote? He will take what is available, and then he will import the rest.
So are we technically saying, I want you to answer me as a professional, are we technically saying that this was the aspiration? Let's backward integrate. Dangote has backward integrate, and now Port Harcourt refinery. So it's a question of net exporter of petroleum products. But now, because we have not been able to ramp up production, there's an aspiration of 2 million barrels per day. Now, because we have not been able to ramp up production to be able to feed all of us, the refineries in Nigeria, as well as all the indebtedness we have, are we now going to be importing crude oil to be able to service?
Yes, in the short term, you will.
We're going to be importing crude
In the short term, yeah.
Wow.
Because you need to deal with your, what you call the forward sales, the things that have been committed. And those, you cannot default on that, because once you default on that, the repercussions are even greater. But these things have been done. We just tells you that there was some poor planning on our part. Poor planning on when Dangote will come and where he was going to receive his crude from. Poor planning on the refineries that were coming up and where they were going to get their crude. The sale, or the forward sale of Nigerian crude required that you get money immediately. And so they took money immediately for infrastructure, for other things that they needed to do, both, not this administration alone, the one before and the one before that. You have to meet those commitments. So yeah, you may be faced with a situation where you have, and I believe Dangote is already importing some.
Wow. This is an interesting perspective. What do you, this is my final question, so I'll let you go. So what do you foresee as far as the economy of the country is concerned, given all of these things we're pointing to, the political nuances that we're looking at, some of these issues around the crude oil? Because I'm particularly interested in what goes on the crude, oil and gas sector, because that's our greatest cash cow. If anything happens to your greatest cash cow, we're cooked.
Yes, you know, Nigeria always baffles me because it's always full of surprises. So the first thing I'll tell you is I don't give up on Nigeria. Okay, this is a country that will consistently defy the odds. Where do I see the oil and gas moving? First and foremost, I believe that production is going to increase. For a short term, we're going to suffer all of these things that we're going to do. But a lot of the local players that are now moving into the upstream production are going to bring production up. Because like you said, we have nothing else to do but to make sure that this works. And so you're going to see that. You're going to see offshore, deep offshore moves, and those things are going to come online. That's where the major players are playing. Together, bringing that together will bring our production up. Once production is up, then Dangote and our refineries will then see what they need to do. So the long-term prognosis of this is good. There's no problem with that. The issue is that you are going to face some very short-term difficulties, and those difficulties will continue for a little bit.
Well, this a little bit is all, we don't know how. Well, little 2, 3 years, 4 years, I don't know. Tony Cole is a governorship candidate of the APC in the last governorship election in Rivers State, as well as a businessman. Thank you, sir, for coming. We appreciate it.
Always appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we're still talking politics. This time we're focusing exclusively, especially on the PDP. A former deputy national publicity secretary of the party will be joining us to explore the issue of the opposition. Join us again. Welcome back. Let's now talk some party politics. The PDP is in focus again today. We're being joined in the program by the former National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Tony Caesar Okeke. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Okeke, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for having me. Thank you.
I think a straight question I would ask you, how would you describe the state of the People's Democratic Party as we speak?
The party is in bad shape. And this pains me. It's in a terrible state, and this completely affects our democracy. Because where you do not have a strong opposition, then democracy cannot really thrive. And I'm hoping that, as I discuss with you today, we would look into what led the party to this position and see how it could be corrected.
For some of us who have been watching this space, we know that a few things happened just before the election. From the fallouts at the primaries and to the selection of who is going to be the vice president or the running mate to the presidential candidate of the party, Atiku Abubakar, where 3 names were put out, and Senator Okowa, former Governor Okowa, was picked ahead of others and all of that. So what, in your view, brought us here? I mean, your party here, so that we can begin to talk about how to resolve the issue. Because the weakness and, dare to say sometimes, the docility, as maybe described by some of the opposition, which people like Segun Showunmi have said that has even been more complicated now because the president picked a member of a significant member of their party to join in his leadership. In your view, what brought us here?
Thank you very much. Now, I have to go back in time. I've heard people say the problem of the party is the new acting national chairman and his NWC. But the truth, Chegu, is this. In my opinion, the problem of the PDP is what I would call the Atiku Abubakar problem. And here is why. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, the Waziri Adamawa, the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has done more damage to the PDP than anybody dead or alive. Right from the inception of the PDP, just a few years after the party won the election and started governing the country under President Olusegun Obasanjo, even before the government will settle down, we started hearing whispers about the Mandela option, trying to force President Obasanjo out of office after 1 term so that His Excellency Vice President Atiku Abubakar would take over. When that didn't work, in 2007, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar left the party, went to Action Congress of Nigeria, contested the election against the party, lost, and he returned back to the party. Now, in 2013, I was in the National Working Committee as the National Publicity Secretary under the leadership of the most respected Dr. Bamanga Otokoro, the Tafida Adamawa, when Alhaji Atiku Abubakar led 5 serving governors of the party and members of the National Assembly, including the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tambuwal, and powerful senators like Senator Saraki, and they formed what they call the new PDP. And they now joined the CPC, the ACN, the NPP, and Rochas Okorosha's faction of the APGA to form the APC. In one swoop, they took away about 20% of the strength of the party. This was a devastating blow to the PDP. So when they moved, prior to the 2015 election, of course, you know how the election went. President Jonathan conceded the election. And again, Vice President Atiku Abubakar returned to the party. Now, to be clear, Jeffrey, at that time, the party's constitution was very clear. If you leave the party, if you left the party, upon your return to the party, you were supposed to lose all your privileges. But each time he left and he returned back to the party, he worsened back straight into the Board of Trustees, into the National Executive Committee, and it just looked like nothing happened. And you look at it, this was where the seed of indiscipline was sown in this party. So this thing that started before the 2003 election has festered. In 2019 election, when some of us saw the monumental disaster that was the Buhari administration, And because
Okay.
the... Hold on, I'm coming. Let me
because of time, you can land on your thoughts. I got a couple of questions to follow up so that we can accommodate as many as possible.
Okay, I'm just going to cut it. I'm just going to cut it short now.
Okay.
Now, the final nail on the coffin of the party, which has put the party where it is now, was by the same Vice President Atiku Abubakar in the 2022-23 election cycle. The injustice perpetrated by the PDP in that cycle is what is affecting the party at this time. Because we had a situation where a national chairman from the North convoked and presided over a national convention that selected a candidate from the North to run in an election to replace an outgoing president from the North who had served 8 years. And the icing on the cake on this is that the outgoing president and the candidate of the PDP are of the same ethnic stock. So in a multi-ethnic, multicultural, diverse country like Nigeria, all of us are supposed to just fold our hands and let that happen. It was when that happened that the mass exodus from the party started.
So in your view, Mr. Okeke, just a moment, if I come in there, in your view, because as I see the picture, some of the things you've painted are familiar pictures, but we need to look ahead because the weakness or the docility, as someone would describe it, of opposition, lead opposition like the PDP, is affecting the strength of our democracy. Because when the APC was in opposition, whether they were a collective as APC or they were a splinter, CPC, ACN, and all of that, they gave the PDP a run for their money as far as opposition politics is concerned. But perhaps PDP got used to being the leaders and they don't understand how to play opposition politics. We do not know. Because, for instance, now, it's been difficult to hold even a NEC meeting. It has been shifted again and again. I even dared, what's his name? Kola Logo Agba, the former National Publicity Secretary. I said, your neck will not hold. And he was laughing. He said it will hold. And it didn't hold. And it has been shifted again. So what is the way forward? And I'm asking because it doesn't look like Atiku Abubakar is not going to run again.
Now, the way forward is pretty straightforward. I listened recently to an interview granted by the former governor of Benue State, former senator, who is now Secretary to the Government of the Federation, His Excellency George Akume, where he discussed in details a meeting hosted by the much revered Masanin Kanu, Alhaji Master Masule of the blessed memory, where it was agreed that for national unity, cohesion, sense of belonging for everybody in the country, that the presidency should rotate 8 years in the north and 8 years in the south. And by the way, this was the reason proffered by His Excellency Atiku Abubakar and the 5 governors when they were leaving the PDP in 2013, that if they allowed President Jonathan to continue, that means power would have been in the south for 10 years instead of the 8 years that was agreed. So the way forward is the leadership of the party would need to come together, everybody, an expanded caucus of the party would need to come together and commit irrevocably to zoning the 2027 presidential ticket of the party to the south. If that happens, and when that happens, the people who left the party out of annoyance because of the injustice of the 2023 nomination would come back. And when everybody's back, this party would bounce back. And there will be stronger opposition.
So in your view, if they were to get back to the south, as you proposed, which region of the south? We have 3 regions of the south. Are you guys going to pick up somebody to contest against the president from his zone or any other zone, in your view?
Let us get it back to the south, first of all. When we get it back to the south, because the thing is, like you've just rightly said, that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar will run again. And he has even said it himself, that any time he wants the PDP ticket, he will get it. And because of that, nobody is willing to take any risk for the party. Nobody is willing to fight for the party. But if we have the firm decision of the party that the ticket is zoned to the south, then we can begin to get the party back to strength. And by the way, Jeffrey, we need to understand what we are up against. We're up against one of the best strategic minds, if not really the best strategic political mind in the country. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is an enigma. He's someone who has deflected everything that has been thrown at him. So for us to defeat him and for us to save this country from the maladministration of the APC, we must all come together and we must all agree that this ticket is going to the south. If this ticket is not going to the south, it's not going to work.
So do you feel that the PDP on its own can actually beat the APC in this 2027 election? I know it's still far away, but politicians, you always have this long-term plan. I'm going to somewhere with that question, because it took an alliance of the ACN, the CPC, the ANPP, some group in ALBGA, New PDP to come together and form the APC to be able to kick the PDP out of power. And now it looks like all the alliances conversation is not going any. Do you think the PDP on its own, without an alliance with other political parties, maybe the Labour Party or NMPP or any other party, can be able to beat the APC?
Three-quarters of the people in the other political parties are people who left the PDP. The Labour Party, for instance, there are people that left the PDP. And they left the PDP because of the injustice. So if PDP decides to do what is right, most of these people will come back. Look, the election of 2023 would have been the easiest election for PDP to win, because there were 8 years of monumental disaster by the Buhari administration. People were fed up. Everybody knew that the APC had nothing to offer. But the PDP then shot itself in the leg.
All right, so let's quickly, my apologies. Let's quickly transit now from talking about core party politics to the management of our Commonwealth, the administration of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, whom you have said is an enigma. He has foresight when it comes to politics. He plays this game. He's done it for many years, so he understands the game. But you've mentioned the fact that monumental disaster is a word used to describe the administration of Muhammadu Buhari, but things are now even worse off in terms of the cost of living and all of that. What's your general assessment? He said this is necessary for tomorrow.
Yeah. Things, you see, in law we say you cannot build something on nothing. The last administration took this country like 50 years back. The present administration, I think, is trying to take us like 100 years back. So the president, yes, I said he's an enigma. I said he's politically smart and all of that. But you see, there's a fundamental difference between politics and governance. And this is the reason I am here today. Jeffrey, look, it's more than a decade I left office as National Public Secretary. I've not granted any interview politically to anybody. This is the first time I'm talking, because I'm really quite upset about what's going on. This is our country. At the time we were in office at Wadata House, we had a booming middle class. We had a booming economy. We had the fastest growing economy in Africa. We were topping the world. We were doing everything. Today, what do we have? Everywhere you go, you see professionals, lawyers, bankers, all sorts of people leaving Nigeria. And what are they going to do? Security man's job? Social care job? This is not the dream that we have for this country. But if the PDP continues the way it's going, then this would continue to happen, because a divided house cannot be the APC. We must all come together. I understand a lot of people are holding meetings, thinking of forming a new political party and all of that. No matter what you form, the PDP is a household name in the country. In my place, they say, when a man marries 2 wives, he would know which one is better. Nigerians have seen it. Nigerians have seen between APC and PDP, and there's no question at all about the PDP being the better political party. So the PDP has the name and has the reach.
Let's talk about something that is taking place, which is about August. August this year, if I can remember correctly, we should be wrapping up issues around constitution amendment. And we're looking at issues around state police and every other issue that is being looked at as an amendment to the constitution. If you were to make an input as an individual, a lawyer, a party man, as far as the input to that constitution amendment is concerned, what will it be? And I'd like you to emphatically speak about the issue of state police. The reason we always raise that issue is the fact that with the governors, a lot of people are concerned about what they consider chokehold of governors on structures, local government, the state assembly, and we can go on and on. Putting police in their hands, nobody's sure what will be the outcome. So I would like you to speak to that.
No, see, if I am all for state police, I support the creation of state police, community policing. Everywhere in the world, community policing is the best way to go. I come from Anambra. My local government in Anambra is a Kusigo local government area. Now, sometimes I have a DPO from Adamawa or a DPO from Sokoto. This DPO does not know anything about the local community. The people there do not trust him. So how can he work? How can he be effective? Regarding the powers of the governor, when the constitution is amended, we can create an independent police commission to oversee the police. This is the 21st century, Jeffrey. Everywhere you go, you don't see the people in government having that much control over the police or the security agencies.
Okay.
So we cannot leave it in the hands of the governors. The governors have actually proven to be very unreliable. And part of the problem that we even have in the PDP goes back to what the governors have been doing over the years.
All right, Mr. Okeke, totally out of time, but you've used very strong words, and I think you're very brutally honest with your perspective as to the issues I've raised with you. And thank you for coming out of, I don't know, was it retirement or tiredness or whatever it is that you...
Well, semi-retirement. But you see, I had to drag myself out because the truth of the matter is I travel a lot, and everywhere I go and I see Nigerians, I really get very upset about it.
All right, totally out of time.
So,
for people who can't remember, I think you took over from Olisa Metu when he left office.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I took over from him and handed over back to him again.
All right, Tony Caesar Okeke is a former National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Thank you.
And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I wish you a very beautiful weekend. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Have a good rest. Good night.